Welcome to the 21st episode of Skyrim Cut Content. In this episode, I'll be looking at a removed quest that completely changes the fate of an orc stronghold. We'll need to visit the orc stronghold of Narzulbur for info on the removed content. The chief there, Mauhulakh, has a particular problem, and literally everyone in the stronghold will mention this to you. The chief is doted on by his two aunts Yatul and Bolar, and all his previous wives have died. In the final game, that's all it ever amounts to, people talking about the problem. If you are experienced with RPGs, then you know that something's wrong if everyone talks about the task without giving it to you. And in this case, it's very clear what was meant to happen here. Although, as we will find out soon, the actual removal method of this quest was strange to say the least. So let us take a look at the quest. Internally it is known as Narzulbur Freeform Wife Quest, and that's all we have in form of a name, as the quest actually goes unnamed. So to clarify, if you ever played a modded version of this quest, the name is completely made up, as there is no known name. First thing of note is that this quest doesn't actually have all that much going for it. As I previously stated, the quest does not have a name, but it also doesn't have any known objectives. It has 4 quest stages, 10, 20, 100 and 200, but all of them are blank and as such do not contain any information. The quest does also not have any associated scripting. If you're not quite picking up what I'm putting down, this quest either had all of its coding removed or never had any to begin with. So what does this quest have? Well, it appears that all of its related dialogue survived. In a way at least. It seems that the player was supposed to start talking to Mahalik about his riches, but there isn't a single line of the player's dialogue that remains. Only Mahulik's dialogue remains. His dialogue also isn't correctly linked to each other, even though it's clear which pieces of dialogue belong together. Mauhulakh would start off with these 2 lines after the player presumably asked about his riches.
The mine is rich, and so are we, but I am cursed, it would seem, to live alone.
After this, it's likely that the player could have asked if Mahalik had never had a wife, to which he would reply by saying,
I've had several wives, but each dies sooner than the last. I was lucky to get children out of the ones I did.
The next option would have been related to the Stronghold's ebony mine.
Everyone said it had run out, but I smashed down one wall and found the widest veins of ebony I've ever seen. So now we're rich, and now I'm chief.
And then the player could have also asked Mauhulakh if he knows of someone who would make a good wife.
I think of Oglar's, an old friend. When we were little, she ran into the woods to hunt, and never came back. If someone found her, she would make an excellent mate.
You could then tell him that you would try and find his friend Oglar's, with Mauhulakh stating,
Ha! Good luck to you, friend. She's not one who likes to be found.
There is no remaining dialogue option for denying his request, so there likely was never one to begin with. So now the player would have been able to find Oglar's. Where she would have been found is a complete mystery. Like Mauhulakh says, she does not like to be found. Oglar's, despite being a removed NPC, is actually placed in the game, but that's really not relevant right now. What is relevant is that Oglar's actually is a completely finished NPC. While she does not have any remaining AI packages, Oglar's is completely designed. She has her level set at level 4 and is a one-handed warrior by class. She wears ragged trousers with boots and carries some leveled lower class items, an orcish dagger and an orcish bow. She does not carry any arrows though. Her factions are also already set up to function as an inhabitant of an orc stronghold. So while it's unknown where exactly, the player would eventually find Oglar's, and upon speaking to her, she would have introduced herself as follows.
I am Oglar's, huntress of all.
Like Mahalik, she apparently still has all of her dialogue, but the player's dialogue is completely lost. It seems that you would have been able to ask her if she came from Narzulbur, to which she would have replied,
It was my home, but I left. The woods felt more alive, at least for a time.
You could also ask if she knows Mauhulakh, which she confirms.
Mauhulakh. I remember him. Little scrawny fellow.
I'm guessing that for this dialogue option, you would have told her that Mahalik actually became the chief, to which she acts surprised.
Ha! Now that I would like to see. I may go back there someday.
It also seems that you could have told Oglar's of Mahulakh's tale where he explains how he became chief by finding more ebony in the mine.
Always thought that old mine had more to it. Just like Mauhulakh to smash his way to good fortune.
This would eventually all lead to Oglar's getting convinced to return to Narzulbur.
I'm going back to Narzulbur. Want to see how it's come.
So now I can come back to my whole point of Oglare's actually being placed in the game. Unlike what you would expect, she isn't placed somewhere in the wilderness, but inside of Mauhulakh's longhouse, permanently disabled of course. In my eyes, it seems very probable that the original Oglara she met in the wilderness would get disabled, and the one inside of the longhouse would get enabled, in order to make sure she arrived here safely. Why Bethesda chose to do this way instead of with scripting or AI packages, I don't know. Now you'd think that we would end there, but no, there actually is a whole other part connected to this. Literally every named NPC in Narzulbur that isn't a mine worker has unique dialogue set up for when the quest would get completed. Not only that, but even the existing Widower dialogue has conditions to get replaced upon quest completion. I find it very weird that this dialogue is completely set up, while the quest lacks even the most basic of scripting. Back to the dialogue. Mahalik would have been relieved to this new mate and gained 2 new lines of dialogue.
I am proud to have a mate to share in my blessings. I'm hoping this wife can outlast the winter.
Oglara is also very content about her new life and gains 4 new lines of dialogue.
You're right about this place, and about Mauhulakh. This was worth coming back for. Uruk is a good learner. I'm glad I have the chance to teach her. Makes me not miss the woods as much. Uruk and I still hunt a lot, so it's not like I'm cooped up in the longhouse.
She mentions Uruk, who is the daughter of Mahalik and a protege of the huntress Yatul. Uruk would instead start to learn from Oglara when she returned and gained 2 new lines of dialogue, praising her teacher.
Oglar's is a great huntress. Perhaps she could teach me something new. I never would have thought, but Oglar's is an even better hunter than Yatul was. The things I'm learning now.
Mahulikh's aunts, Yatul and Bolar, aren't as happy with their nephew's new love. Bolar will act surprised.
All my arguing never predicted this. A woman for Mauhulakh, eh? We'll see how this goes.
While Yatul will be downright cruel.
Well, at least now Mauhulakh is nothing to whine about. Until this one dies too.
The last person who would have received new dialogue was Dushnamub, the son of Mahalik, who is also happy with the newfound love of his father.
Glad my father seems to have found someone. I just hope she can hold her own against my aunts. I think I like this new mate of my father's. I mean, nothing like that. I just think she's nice.
So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about this removed or maybe just unfinished quest. I just find it strange how much there was finished and how much was left completely untouched. Whatever the design philosophy is, I don't follow it. And with that, I hope that I've just educated someone somewhere about Skyrim's cut content, and then I'm happy. I would love to hear everyone's thoughts and or requests in the comments below, and until next episode. We have enough content to keep us going for a long while.